All right, Rangers Today, we're diving into the real stories coming out of Rangers, from transfer drama to teary-eyed promises and even a peek at how Philippe Clement might shake up the squad. There's no holding back. What's the deal with Cyril Dessers hinting at a January exit? Has Haji just made a vow that could change everything for us? And let's talk about the £4 million mystery injury and the financial realities kicking us square in the teeth. Oh, and wait till you hear the rumors about our potential January signings. Are we looking at the future of Rangers or just another set of false dawns? Stay tuned for the lot, because you won't want to miss a second of this one. Right, so there's a bit to chew on here, isn't there? Cyril Dessers is making it quite clear he's not thrilled about playing second fiddle at Rangers, and he's already dropping hints that the club might be willing to cash in on him come January. Can't blame the lad for being frustrated. 13 goals and 4 assists is decent enough for any striker, but when Hamza Igam Mainis come in and bag 9 in a flash, you can see why Dessers is warming the bench more than he'd like. It's a tricky one for Philippe Clement to balance, but then again, that's what the gaffer gets paid for. The talk of Italian clubs sniffing around Dessers, Empoli and Cagliari of all places isn't exactly surprising. These teams love a bargain, don't they? Dessers himself seems pretty realistic about the January window. He's saying, not many clubs will have the millions ready. Fair point, but here's the kicker. He's 30 and wants to play regularly. Rangers might want to cash in while they still can, given his age and wages. The big question is, if he goes, will we regret it? Or is this just a case of the right move for both parties? Is letting Dessers go now a smart bit of business? Or are we selling off talent we might need down the line? Haji, 5 years at Rangers and still going strong. It's the kind of story that makes you feel a bit sentimental, isn't it? The lad's journey from a lightweight winger to a proper midfield general is one of those transformations you love to see. Haji's not just about fancy flicks anymore. He's bulked up, toughened up, and now he's running the show with that magic vision of his. Makes you wonder how much further he can go, doesn't it? Hearing him get misty-eyed about his debut against Aberdeen, reminiscing about cold nights and hard challenges, it's clear he's embraced what it means to play for Rangers. He knows it's not all European glamour. It's about grafting on a rainy Wednesday in Glasgow too. That attitude, combined with his skill, is why we've got no business entertaining the daft talk of Genoa snapping him up for £1.5 million. £1.5 million? You'd barely get his boots for that. What stands out most is how he's not resting on his laurels. He's saying, I've got more to give. That's the kind of mentality you need in this team. Haji's gone from a lad finding his feet to someone who looks like he's grabbing games by the scruff of the neck. And if he keeps this up, Rangers could be set to benefit big time. So here's the question for you. Is Haji the key to Rangers climbing back to the top, or is the squad relying too much on a player who's still finding his best form after injury? Well, it's never dull at Rangers, is it? While the 3-0 win against Aberdeen was a solid boost for Philippe Clement and the squad, there's plenty bubbling under the surface. Rabbi Matondo, Oscar Cortez, and Kieran Dowell all missing the matchday squad. It had folk scratching their heads, and not without reason. Let's start with Matondo. Clements made it clear the lad's been dropped on merit. Zach Lovelace and Bailey Rice have apparently been showing him up in training, which says it all, really. You can't fault the manager for rewarding the young guns if they're outshining the supposed big earners. Matondo's been linked with a loan move, and it sounds like Clements all but packed his bags for him. 3 seasons at Rangers, and he's still not delivering. You'd think with all that blistering pace, he'd have made more of an impact. Maybe he needs a fresh start, but the question is, who's daft enough to take him on? Then there's Oscar Cortez. It's a proper saga with this lad, isn't it? We shell out £4 million for a loan-to-buy deal, and he's spent more time getting to know the physios than playing football. Just when you think he's ready to be involved again, there's a small problem. Small or not, it's starting to feel like we've bought ourselves a walking sick note. You've got to wonder if the medical and recruitment teams need a long, hard look at themselves. How did no one spot this pattern before he came in? The absence of Dowell, meanwhile, is hardly a shock. He's hardly been setting the heather alight since joining Rangers, has he? The squad's starting to feel like it's got a few too many passengers, players who aren't pulling their weight while the likes of Lovelace and Rice step up. Here's one to stir the pot. Are Rangers guilty of wasting money on injury-prone players like Cortez, or is it just bad luck that's holding the squad back? The old balancing act between ambition and finances, never far from the surface at Rangers these days, is it? Václav Cerny has been a proper bright spot in a season that's otherwise been more ups and downs than a night out on Sauchy Hall Street. But now West Ham and Villarreal are sniffing about, and the writing might be on the wall for another Lone Star we can't afford to keep. It's like Abdallah Sima all over again. Clement's comments spell it out loud and clear. The money just isn't there. The club's been shaving down wages and relying on loans because it's the only way to keep the squad competitive. The Gaffer's plan to reduce loans year by year makes sense, but it's a long game, and fans aren't exactly known for their patience, are they? The real kicker is that players like Cerny and Sima want to stay. They fall in love with Rangers, the fans, the lot, but when clubs like West Ham come waving big Premier League wages, what are they supposed to do? Loyalty only goes so far when there's a mortgage to pay and a career to think about. It's a tricky spot for Rangers. If the board can't find a way to bring players like Cerny in permanently, we're just a stepping stone for talent. That's fine in the short term, but long term, it leaves us chasing our tails every summer, trying to rebuild yet again. Are Rangers doing the right thing, relying on loans to stay competitive? Or is this strategy setting us up to stay second best for years to come? Right, so the rumor mill is in full swing, and it looks like Clement and Koppen are gearing up for a busy January window. Plenty of names being thrown about, but it's clear that Rangers are trying to patch up more holes than a leaky roof. 16 points behind Celtic, that's grim reading, but with Europa League nights still giving us something to shout about, there's at least a sliver of hope to build on. The potential arrival of Richard King from Cavalier FC is intriguing. We're in desperate need of defensive reinforcements, with half the backline seemingly held together by duct tape. Tavernier, Sutar, Sterling, Balogun, Casanwirjo. It's like an injury bingo card. Robin Propper's done well, but he can't do it all on his own. A young, solid centre-back might be just what we need, but let's hope King can handle the step up. You don't want another project when you're already playing catch-up. Ridvan Yilmaz looks to be heading out the door, which isn't much of a surprise. He's flattered to deceive more often than not, and if Marseille's Barmo Mighty is the man to replace him, he'd better hit the ground running. £4.9 million for Yilmaz is decent business, but only if the replacement does the job. Lyle Cameron from Dundee feels like another Connor Barron situation, promising young talent, but will he get the game time to develop? The midfield's already stacked, and while it's good to keep one eye on the future, you've got to wonder if this is the kind of signing that moves the needle in the here and now. Up front, though, it's looking a bit rosier. Haji, Bajrami, Cerny, and Igamani as a front four, that's got goals in it. Clement's biggest challenge is making sure they stay fit and consistent because, let's be honest, there's not much room for error when you're this far behind. So here's the big talking point. Are these potential signings the fresh blood Rangers need to turn the season around, or are we just shuffling the deck chairs while Celtic sail off into the distance? If you haven't seen yesterday's video yet, you're missing out. Explosive news about Rangers that'll leave every fan stunned. Go check it out now.